This is Dave with the Prepper Bookshelf, and I've got another gun book today. This book really opened my eyes toward teaching firearms, and it's from Vicki Farnam. And if you know anything about guns, you might recognize the last name. Her husband is a very well-known trainer, and she's pretty good in her own right. And it's called Teaching Women to Shoot, a Law Enforcement Instructor's Guide. And I just realized there's a student guide too, which is on my wish list. I'm going to have to get it. But this book talks about the differences in instructing men and women shooters from a law enforcement perspective. You shouldn't really stereotype. A shooter is a shooter, a basic shooter is a basic shooter. They need all the same stuff. However, there are some physiological and sociological, psychological differences between men and women. The physical's easy. If you don't recognize them, then you're probably too stupid to turn your computer on. But there's a lot of social differences, and a lot of ways that we process information. And this book really explained it to me in such a way that the light kind of clicked. And I use this in my classes all the time, especially in my instructor classes where I'm teaching people how to teach people. And I recommend this to all, my instructor students, for them to get this book. And I'll just talk about some things, like particularly law enforcement holsters, right? Strong side holsters. Because of the curve of a woman's hip, the holsters tend to kind of push into their body, and so you wonder, when an administrator buys a one-size-fits-all holster, and the women are having a difficulty drawing, they have to lean over to get the holster out. Maybe if an administrator would realize that there is a difference, he would let them get holsters that have kind of a spacer so that the gun kind of rides at an angle. Where on a man it would be all floppy, but because of the female's hips, it would actually turn the gun straight so they could draw straight out. Another thing that she talks about is, and something I never thought about till I read the book. Okay, so we've got the fundamentals of shooting, right? Breathe, relax, aim, sight, squeeze, all that stuff, right? Well, if I'm in front of the class and say, okay, here's the fundamentals of shooting. Here's your stance. Get in your stance. Okay. You get the gun. All right. Next, once you get your stance, I want you to control your breathing. Okay. Now that you've got your breathing controlled, what I want you to do is I want to get your sights aligned. All right. Now, once your sights are aligned, once you take the safety off, and I want you to put your finger on the trigger, and then I want you to do a nice trigger squeeze. Right. Well, when you say that to guys, a lot of guys kind of realize, okay, I'm going to do all this stuff, fundamentals of shooting, I'm going to do it. But a lot of women, and I'm not trying to stereotype, but sometimes women might think that, I'm coming here, the instructor's going to teach me, I'm going to do what they say, I'm going to do exactly what they say because, I trust them, I picked him, I'm here. So whatever he tells me to do, I'm going to do. Okay, so they get out of range. Say, okay, the first thing I got to do is I got to get my body. All right, now I got to relax. And you'll see them relax. Right? And then you'll see them tense up and control their breathing. Because the next thing is, okay, first I relaxed. Okay, I'm done relaxing. Now I'm going to control my breathing. You control their breathing. Right? And then you see them get their side alignment, but they've already controlled their breathing, so they'll stop controlling their breathing, and then they'll hold their breath. And they'll get their sights aligned. Right? And then it's time to pull the trigger, and then their sights go off because they're not paying attention to that anymore because they already did it. Now, next step is pull the trigger. So they're holding their breath, and they're not looking at their sights anymore, and they're doing the trigger squeeze, right? But if you just add, the words at the same time, then it's like, oh, okay, cool. I got to do all this at the same time, and then they do it all at the same time. And if you take that into consideration, that's one of the reasons why I like to say, if I have a basic beginner class and nobody's ever touched a gun before, the women typically always shoot better than the men because they don't have the egos and they're like, okay, I'm here, I'm going to learn, and they do what you say. Where there's guys, us guys, we think we could drive, barbecue, talk to girls, and shoot based on genetics. And if you try to tell me how to do any of those things, then you are messing with my manhood, right? And I'm not going to listen, right? So very good, very, very good book. Totally recommend it. Talks about the reasons that we have to train differently because of the differences in perspectives and the different ways that women process information than men. It's all well and good to treat everybody equally, right? But in this case, equally means that we're going to give them the information in the way that best helps them so that everybody leaves at the same level of knowledge. We might have to do different things. If I've got somebody in my class who's never touched a gun before and somebody who has shot before, I want them both to leave meeting the training standard, but I may have to talk to this guy differently than I talk to this guy. It's not that one group's better than the other. It's that we need to meet all their needs to be fair. So anyway, there we go. Great book. Totally recommend it. Teaching Women to Shoot by Vicki Farnam. And till next time, you can always catch the line on purplebookshelf.com. Thanks.